Phase 1. The verdict. The heavy wooden gavel slammed against the sound block, the noise cracking through the silence of the courtroom like a gunshot. The judge looked down from his high bench, his voice void of any human emotion as he read the sentence that the entire city had been holding its breath for. Défendant Elena Sterling, for the crime of vehicular manslaughter and fleeing the scene. This court sentences you to 7 years in prison. Elena stood frozen in the defendant's dock. Her hands gripped the wooden railing so tightly that her fingernails broke, drawing blood. 7 years. For a crime she didn't commit, panic flooded her chest as she whipped around, her wide eyes searching desperately for the one man who could save her. Marcus Sterling, her husband and the city's star prosecutor, sat in the prosecution seat. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, his handsome face cold and unreadable, like a block of ice. Instead of pain or outrage, Elena saw only a calm calculation as he organized his files, not even deigning to glance at her. Elena screamed, her voice cracking with terror and injustice. "Marcus, say something. You know I didn't drink. I was at home waiting for you that night. You are the only one who knows my alibi." The bailiffs moved in instantly, twisting her arms behind her back. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed dryly, locking her wrists. The pain shot up her arms. But it was nothing compared to the look Marcus finally cast in her direction. Marcus walked slowly down from his podium, approaching Elena as she was being restrained. He leaned in close, his lips brushing her ear, whispering in that deep, warm voice she once loved. But his words were pure poison. Marcus smirked, barely visible to the room. "Be a good girl. Elena, my career is at a critical juncture. This scandal needs a scapegoat. You love me, don't you? Consider this the final sacrifice you make for me." Elena stared at the man she had shared a bed with for 3 years. Her entire world collapsed. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was him. He had orchestrated it all. He had swapped the blood samples. He had deleted the dashcam footage. He had sold her out to secure his promotion to district attorney. Or perhaps to protect the woman who had actually been driving that car. In the gallery, Natalie Marcus's personal secretary dabbed at her dry eyes with a handkerchief, feigning sorrow. But a triumphant smirk played on her lips when she caught Elena's eye. Elena struggled wildly in the grip of the 2 large officers, tears streaming down her face, not from weakness, but from a hatred so potent it tasted like bile. She screamed, tearing through the faux solemnity of the court. "You bastard, Marcus. You are a monster. I am pregnant with your child. You are killing both your wife and your baby." Marcus paused for a fraction of a second, his eyes flickering to her flat stomach. But the cruelty quickly returned. He adjusted his tie and turned his back, walking away, leaving her to the blinding flashes of the hungry press. Elena was dragged out the back exit. Outside, the rain poured in sheets. The icy drops stung her face like needles. The gray prison transport van waited, its doors open like the mouth of a beast, ready to swallow its prey. A female guard shoved her roughly into the vehicle. Elena fell onto the cold metal floor, mud staining her pristine white dress. The iron doors slammed shut, locking her in eternal darkness. As the van began to roll, Elena stopped crying. She curled into a ball, wrapping her handcuffed hands around her belly, where a tiny life was forming amidst this tragedy. In the gloom, her eyes burned with a blue flame, the fire of a vengeance that would burn everything down when she returned. Elena whispered into the void, her voice hoarse but terrifyingly clear. "Marcus, hold on to that seat tightly, because the day I walk out of here will be the day you kneel at my feet." Ps 2 Hell on Earth, 6 months later. State Correctional Facility No. 4 was no place for a human being, let alone a woman nearing childbirth. Elena knelt on the freezing concrete, her bare hands submerged in a bucket of cleaning water that reeked of harsh chemicals. Her belly was now swollen and heavy, making every motion to scrub the floor a torture session. She gasped for air, cold sweat drenching her forehead. But she didn't dare stop. Big Red, the prison block boss, rumored to be paid by someone on the outside to make Elena's life miserable, sauntered over. With a sneer, she kicked the bucket, sending filthy water splashing all over Elena's face and striped prison uniform. Red laughed, the sound like metal scraping against glass. "Hey, princess. Scrub harder. You think you're still a madam? Your husband is on TV accepting a medal right now, while you're in here cleaning up my filth." Elena bit her lip until it bled to keep from crying out. She wasn't allowed to cry. For 6 months, tears had been a luxury she couldn't afford. She silently reached for the rag. But a sudden, sharp pain ripped through her lower abdomen, shattering her resolve. Elena clutched her stomach and collapsed to the floor, a groan of agony escaping her clenched teeth. "It hurts. Help. Help my baby." No one moved. The other inmates just watched with indifferent or fearful eyes. It took 15 minutes, an eternity where blood began to stain her prison trousers before the guards leisurely opened the iron gate. The prison infirmary was sparse and cold, more like a morgue than a hospital. There was no doctor, only an old nurse with a scowl. Elena lay on a rusted iron bed, her legs shackled to the frame, even as she writhed in the throes of labor. Elena screamed, her fingernails shredding the thin mattress. "Please, take the shackles off. I can't breathe. My baby." Thunder crashed outside, drowning out her desperate pleas. After 3 hours of battling between life and death, the weak cry of a newborn pierced the suffocating air. The nurse cut the umbilical cord roughly and lifted the baby. It was a boy, tiny, red, but his cry was filled with a fierce will to live. Elena reached out with trembling, weak arms, tears washing away the grime on her face. "My son. Let me see him. Please let me hold him." But the nurse pulled back. She whispered to a man in a black suit who had just entered from the back door. Elena squinted through her tears. It was Marcus's personal lawyer. The lawyer looked at the baby with disgust, then signaled for the nurse to take the child away. Elena panicked, thrashing against the shackles, the metal cutting into her ankles. "Stop! Where are you taking him? Give me back my son Marcus. You can't do this." The lawyer approached the bed and placed a crumpled piece of paper on the nightstand. He adjusted his glasses, his voice monotonous and cruel. "According to regulations, inmates are unfit to raise newborns. Furthermore, the child was premature and very weak. The father's family has already processed the paperwork for once's cremation." Elena froze, her heart feeling as though it had been ripped from her chest. "Cremation," he just cried. "He is alive, you are murderers, give him back to me." The lawyer leaned in close, a cruel smile mirroring his master's. "Don't scream. It's useless. He died, just like your life. Elena, sign the death certificate." He shoved a pen into her shaking hand and turned to leave, his heels clicking against the cold tiles. The door slammed shut. Elena lay alone on the bed, a mixture of blood and tears soaking the sheets. She didn't scream anymore. The pain had surpassed the limit of endurance and turned into a terrifying silence. In the darkness of the cell, Elena's eyes stared blankly at the ceiling, dry and black as an abyss. She knew her son wasn't dead. Marcus wouldn't let him die that easily. He would use the child as a hostage, a final weapon. But to the world, Elena Sterling died with that death certificate. Elena clenched her fist, nails digging deep into her palm, whispering a vow that only the darkness heard. "Marcus, Natalie, enjoy your final days of glory, because I will return, and I will turn your lives into the most painful death sentence imaginable." Phase 3, The Devil's Advocate. 5 years later, the heavy oak doors of the High Court swung open. releasing a blast of air-conditioned chill carrying the scent of paperwork and tension. The crowd of reporters waiting outside instantly went into a frenzy. Flashbulbs erupting, like lightning storms. A woman stepped out first. She did not bow her head. She did not shy away. She walked on red-bottomed stilettos. The sharp clack echoing with authority on the marble floor. Her black-fitted suit accentuated a figure that was deadly alluring. Paired with lipstick, the color of deep blood. The crowd whispered, "It's her. Evelyn Cross, the devil's advocate." Evelyn Cross, the resurrected Elena, stopped before the forest of cameras. She had just overturned a certain death sentence for a notorious smuggler, completely humiliating the city's elite prosecution team. A bold young reporter thrust a microphone at her. "Attorney Cross, you just helped a murderer walk free because of a procedural error. Does your conscience not trouble you?" Evelyn slowly removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes that were sharp and cold, holding no trace of the weak woman from 5 years ago. She smirked, a smile so beautiful it was haunting. Evelyn looked straight into the lens. "Conscience. In this court, there is no room for conscience. Only evidence and law. If the district attorney's office is incompetent enough to mess up the procedure, that is their fault. Not my clients. Justice belongs to those who know how to play the game." At the end of the hallway, a group of uniformed prosecutors emerged, looking furious. Leading them was Marcus Sterling, now the district attorney, looking more powerful and arrogant than ever. He had just watched his subordinate's humiliating defeat on live screens. Marcus froze when he saw the woman standing amidst the press. That stance, those eyes, it was too familiar, yet too alien. He pushed past his bodyguards, striding towards her. Marcus growled, trying to suppress his shock and rage. "Elena, you still dare to show your face in this city?" Evelyn didn't flinch. She signaled the reporters to hush, then slowly walked up to Marcus. The distance between them was mere inches, close enough for her to smell the expensive cologne he still wore the scent of hypocrisy. Evelyn leaned in, whispering a reply. Only he could hear. Her voice soft like a razor blade gliding over skin. "Hello?" Marcus, surprised. "Did you think your stupid wife rotted away in prison? Unfortunately, hell rejected me. They sent me back to collect your debt." Marcus grit his teeth, his eyes blazing. "Who do you think you are to fight me? An ex-convict. I can throw you back in that hole any time I want." Evelyn laughed softly, a chilling sound that echoed down the hall. She stepped back, lightly dusting an invisible speck of dirt from Marcus's shoulder, a gesture of pure provocation and contempt. Evelyn smirked, her eyes drilling into his soul. "Try it, Marcus. But remember, I am no longer the Elena of the past. I am Evelyn Cross. And this time, I hold the law in my hands. Hold on to your chair tightly, because I'm going to saw off its legs one by one, starting with that mistress of yours." With that, she turned and walked straight out the main doors, her long black hair flowing like a war banner. Behind her, Marcus stood rooted to the spot, his fists clenched and trembling. He felt it clearly. A massive storm was coming, and it bore the name of the wife he had destroyed. In the darkness of the luxury car waiting outside, Evelyn pulled out a crumpled, old photo, the only ultrasound picture she had managed to keep. Her eyes softened for a second, then burned with a fiercer hatred. The hunt had officially begun. Phase 4. The Child in the Shadows. 2 weeks after the declaration of war, Marcus Sterling's private mansion was ablaze with lights for the Hope for Children Gala, hosted by none other than Natalie, now Mrs. Lyon. Sterling, she wore a pure white evening gown, dripping in diamonds, moving among the elite guests with a fake, saintly smile. Evelyn Cross entered the ballroom like a queen of the night. She had no invitation, but the donation check for $500,000 in her hand was the ultimate VIP pass. The room fell silent. She wore a velvet dress as red as fresh blood, a stark contrast to Natalie's hypocritical white. Natalie froze, nearly dropping her champagne flute. She regained her composure and approached with a stiff smile. Natalie hissed, air voice low. "What are you doing here? Trying to ruin this family?" Evelyn smiled, gently clinking her glass against Natalie's with a sharp ting. "Don't be so tense. Natalie, I'm just here to see if this charity money actually reaches the children, or if it just buys more diamonds to cover up sins." Leaving Natalie purple with rage, Evelyn slipped into the crowd and then quickly maneuvered towards the East Wing corridor, marked as a restricted area on the architectural blueprints she had bought from the black market. The East Wing hallway was dark and cold. Evelyn took off her heels, moving silently. A mother's intuition told her something was terribly wrong here. At the end of the hall was a room locked with a digital keypad. Evelyn pulled out a decoder device. 30 seconds later, the light turned green. The door clicked open. A smell of mold and filth hit her, making her gag. The room was large but empty. The windows boarded up. In the darkest corner sat a large iron cage, the kind used for large dogs. Evelyn clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. Inside the cage was not an animal, but a child. A boy, about 4 or 5 years old, skeletal and bruised, sat hugging his knees. His ankle was chained to the bars with a rusted iron link. His eyes were wide, black, but soulless, staring into the void. Evelyn rushed forward, falling to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. "Oh God, my baby. Who did this to you?" The boy flinched violently, curling into the corner of the cage, making guttural noises of pure terror. He raised his hands to cover his head, expecting a beating. Evelyn's heart shattered. She reached through the bars, trying to touch his dirty hand. "Don't be afraid. I won't hit you. I'm here to save you." As her fingers brushed his shoulder, the boy looked up. In the dim light, Evelyn's heart stopped. Those eyes, that nose, he looked exactly like Marcus, but with the deep sadness of herself. "He's alive. They lied. They signed the death certificate. But they kept him." Footsteps approached rapidly down the hall. High heels. Evelyn panicked. She couldn't take him now. The alarms would sound, and she'd be arrested for kidnapping exactly what Marcus would want. She shoved her silk handkerchief into the boy's hand, whispering through tears, "Take this. I promise. I swear on my life. I will come back for you. Wait for me." Evelyn fled the room, closing the door just as Natalie and 2 bodyguards appeared around the corner. Hiding in the shadows of heavy curtains, she heard Natalie's shrill voice. "Is that deaf-mute brat acting up today? Good. Let him starve another day. If the old man Marcus's father finds out about this disgrace, Marcus and I are dead." Evelyn's fingernails dug into her palms until blood dripped. She understood everything. The child wasn't dead. He was hidden because he was disabled, a stain on Marcus's perfect lineage. He had stolen her son and turned him into a prisoner in his own home. Standing in the dark, Evelyn's eyes burned with a hellfire. She didn't just want Marcus to lose his job anymore. She wanted him to die a slow, agonizing death. Phase 5, the Trojan Horse. 3 days later, a media storm hit Marcus. An anonymous source accused the district attorney of accepting bribes in a massive land zoning project. The family stocks plummeted. Reporters besieged the mansion gates, while Marcus smashed furniture in his office, desperate as his current lawyers failed him. His secretary buzzed in attorney Evelyn Cross is here. She says she can kill this story in 24 hours. Marcus froze, then gritted his teeth. "Send her in." Evelyn walked in, calm as a summer breeze. She slapped a thick file onto his desk, a perfectly fabricated alibi. Evelyn smirked. "I'm not doing this for you. Marcus, I'm doing it for fame. Saving your career makes me a legend. But I have a condition I need to work directly from your residence to avoid leaks. I need access to everything. Marcus eyed her suspiciously, but desperation clouded his judgment. He believed Elena still had lingering feelings, or was simply power-hungry like him. Fine, but don't try anything. The cameras run 24/7. Evelyn smiled mysteriously. Don't worry. I'm a professional at digging your grave. That evening, Evelyn's presence drove Natalie mad. She paced the living room, shattering a vase when she saw Marcus and Evelyn working closely in the study. Seizing a moment when Marcus stepped away, Evelyn walked into the living room. Swirling a glass of red wine, she leaned against the wall, looking at Natalie with pity. Evelyn's voice was soft but laced with venom. You know, Natalie, Marcus just told me he regrets it. He says your presence and that trash in the basement are hindering his path to becoming senator. Natalie spun around, eyes wild. You lie. He loves me. I helped him put you in prison. Evelyn stepped closer, whispering into the insecurities of the mistress. Love men like Marcus only love power. Why hasn't he married you properly in 5 years? Because you're a liability. And because you're raising that disabled burden. If that child disappeared, maybe Marcus would be lighter. Or maybe he's planning to kick you out to marry a new, useful heiress. Evelyn smirked and walked away, leaving Natalie trembling with fear and rage. The seed was planted. Eliminate the burden. Prove my worth. Evelyn went to the guest room and locked the door. She opened an app on her phone, connected to a micro camera she had planted on a potted plant in the hallway earlier. On the screen, she saw Natalie storming down the stairs to the east wing, a leather whip in her hand. She was going to take her anger out on the child. Evelyn bit her lip until it bled, her heart screaming to run down there. But she couldn't. She needed evidence. She needed the world to see the true face of the benevolent Mrs. Live. Sterling. Evelyn hit record and livestream, broadcasting to an anonymous account linked to the massive LED billboards in the city center, where Marcus was scheduled to give a speech the next morning. Evelyn looked at the screen, tears flowing. But her eyes were steel. I'm sorry. Leo, just a little more pain. Just a little more. Mommy is going to burn this whole hell down to get you out. Phase 6, the public execution. The next morning, the Grand Convention Center was packed. Hundreds of cameras pointed at the podium where Marcus stood, exuding the aura of a wrongly accused hero. Marcus adjusted the microphone, his voice booming across the nation and on the giant city squares. Ladies and gentlemen, these bribery allegations are a cowardly plot to smear my honor. My entire life has been dedicated to justice. My family, my wife Natalie, has always been my rock. Suddenly, the giant LED screen behind him flickered. A harsh static noise cut through his speech. The crowd murmured. Marcus turned, annoyed, but in the next second, his face drained of all color. The screen no longer showed the DA's logo. It showed a live, high-definition feed of a dark, filthy room, the sound of a whip cracking thwack. Thwack echoed through the hall speakers. Natalie, the gentle wife he had just praised, appeared on the screen. Her face twisted in demonic rage. She lashed the whip at the skeletal child cowering on the floor. Her voice screeched, amplified to millions. D, why don't you D? You little mongrel. Your father doesn't want you. I don't want you. You're just a burden blocking his way. The convention center fell into a horrified silence. Then, gasps erupted. Is that the DA's wife? Who is that child? Oh my God. That's torture. Marcus stood frozen on stage, his legs trembling. He wanted to scream to cut the feed, but his throat seized. On the screen, the door to the room was kicked open. Evelyn Cross burst in like a hurricane. Without a word, she delivered a slap so powerful, It sent Natalie flying into the wall, knocking her unconscious. Evelyn threw the whip aside and rushed to scoop the bloody child into her arms. She tore her expensive dress to wrap around him. The boy, silent for years, suddenly wailed a sound of pure, heartbreaking release. Evelyn looked up, staring straight into the hidden camera lens. Her gaze pierced through the screen, locking eyes with Marcus 10 miles away. Evelyn's voice trembled with suppressed rage but rang out like a judge's gavel. Marcus, look closely. This is not a burden. This is your biological son. The son you told me was dead. The son you imprisoned like an animal for 5 years to protect your chair. The press exploded. Flashbulbs blinded Marcus. Questions flew like daggers. Sterling, you hid your son. You condone child abuse. Are you human? Evelyn continued, holding the boy tight. Look at this. This is the face of the justice he represents today. As a mother and as attorney Evelyn Cross, I am charging Marcus Sterling and Natalie with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and aggravated child abuse. Police sirens wailed, not on the screen, but right outside the convention hall. Marcus collapsed to his knees, staring blankly at the image of his ex-wife saving his son. He knew it was over. Not just a prison sentence, but a total moral execution before the world. Evelyn lifted her son and walked out of the dark basement towards the light. She whispered to him, hot tears falling on his forehead, "Let's go home. Leo, the nightmare is over." Phase 7, the final verdict. 1 month later, Prison Camp No. 4, the same place where Elena had scrubbed floors in agony, now hosted a new inmate, Marcus Sterling. In the visitation room, separated by thick glass, Marcus sat hunched over. He was gaunt, his head shaved, eyes hollow from sleepless nights and nightmares. The arrogant district attorney was gone, crushed by the contempt of fellow inmates and the weight of the law. The door opened. Evelyn Cross entered. She wore a simple, elegant white dress, looking like an angel, but to Marcus, she was the angel of death. Marcus scrambled for the phone, pressing it to his ear, begging, "Elena, you came. I know you still care. Help me." Natalie confessed everything. She blamed me. I was framed. You're the best lawyer. Get me out of here. Evelyn sat down, her face calm. She didn't pick up the phone immediately. She placed a piece of paper on the counter, a drawing done in crayon. She leaned into the phone, her voice soft but echoing like a verdict. "Marcus, look, this is the first drawing our son made after therapy." Marcus stared at the paper. It showed a house, a yellow sun, and 2 people holding hands, smiling. A woman with long hair and a child. There was no man. Evelyn continued, her eyes shining with pride and pity. "His name is Leo. He is not a mute. He refused to speak because he was terrified of you. But this morning, he spoke his first word." Marcus swallowed hard, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Did he? Did he call for Dad? Evelyn shook her head, a bitter smile touching her lips. "No," he said, "Son," because for the first time in 5 years, he saw the real sun. Not the darkness of your basement. You don't exist in his world. Marcus, you died in his memory a long time ago. Marcus dropped the phone. It clattered against the desk. He slumped forward, his shoulders shaking. He had lost his career, his reputation, and now, his own bloodline had erased him. Evelyn stood up. She looked at him one last time, not with hate, but with the indifference one has for a stranger. Natalie got 20 years. You, as the mastermind, are facing life. Stay healthy in there. Marcus, you have a long time to think about what you did. That is my verdict." She turned and walked away, never looking back. outside the prison gates. The sky was a brilliant blue. A car waited. The window rolled down, revealing the beaming face of little Leo. He waved excitedly. "Mommy. Come. Mommy." His voice was clumsy but clear as a bell. Evelyn smiled. The happiest smile she had worn in years. She opened the car door and hugged her son. The wind blew through her hair, washing away the dust of the past. The car drove off, leaving the gray walls behind. Elena was dead. Evelyn Cross the Avenger was dead. Today, she was just a mother, free and alive. The story of the devil's advocate ended, opening a new, bright chapter called freedom. The end.